But let's get back. Okay, the number one pick is very interesting. We have Alex Sarr, who is not electing to work out in Atlanta. Zachary Richelet was there yesterday. Donovan Clingan was there last week. There's speculation that Donovan Clingan is a real option at number one. What do you think the Atlanta Hawks do?
I mean, I think the number one option would be to trade down, accumulate more assets, and then take Donovan Clingan at like 3 or 4 or even, maybe even lower than that. I think that'd be like my ideal plan really for 1, 2, 3 is trade down and get more personally. But I think for Atlanta, that'd be the number one route. But the question on my mind is like, who is making the final call there? Like is it Quinn Snyder? Is it Landry Fields? Is it the family ownership and his son, who is a prominent voice in the front office? Like, who is actually saying, we are taking this guy? And so I think for, like Sarr hasn't worked out, like you said. As far as I know, Buzelis has not worked out yet for them either as another guy that they want to have in. So, like, they haven't been able to get 2 of the, the 5 or so realistic options at number one in for a workout. I think that speaks to the amount of uncertainty around the state of the Hawks today and the future with Trae Young. Like, I mean, even if he goes into next season with Atlanta, it might be by the trade deadline. He says, you know what, trade me. Or next summer, he says to trade me. So I think that Atlanta at number one, they have so much less certainty and stability than Wizards at 2 with like a new, really respected GM running their team. Rockets at 3 on the rise. Spurs with Victor at 4. And 5, the Pistons, again, new front office. And you get Cade and you get some good young talent. So it's like 2 and beyond are all like better organizations to go to right now than Atlanta.
Do you think, I mean, is this the time for Atlanta just to implode and start over?
I think
like,
so.
Completely. Yeah.
I do.
Especially with what's coming up. Like, I'm here in Colorado Springs right now for the U17 trials. And I'll say this now. I was going to say it on Twitter, but I was about to put a tweet out that said, take a picture of the group there. AJ DeBonsa, Cameron Boozer, Koa Pete, Tyron Stokes. All players coming up that are going to be very, very good pros. I think their upside shows that. I almost put a tweet out that said there is more bona fide star talent on this court at U17 trials than any player in the draft that's going to come up next week. So when you see Atlanta and their options at 1 and Trae Young saying, kind of giving the hint that he's unhappy, it's not a bad option to implode, especially with what's coming up. I don't know.
The thing is they would have to make a deal with the Spurs because the Spurs have their picks in 25 and 27 and the rights to swap in 26. So it's like they would have to be trading Trae or DeJounte to the Spurs for at least one of those picks where where you feel good enough to say, okay, we can implode now and go full rebuild. So like if they can't get those picks back in those big years, like then it's not even an option. But like in theory, I mean, there were rumblings about the Spurs liking DeJounte Murray again. Like, obviously they had him before they traded him to Atlanta, and I think he's grown as a player. DeJounte Murray's a better shooter now with the Hawks than he was when he left San Antonio. I think he's a better overall player on offense. Defensively, he's nowhere what he was early in his career. But like, if he plays with Victor and like a reshaped Spurs team, then maybe it could, be exactly what they need. So unless it's a deal, like if it's a deal with the Spurs, then the answer is like, yes, 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 yes. And if it's not, it's like, oh, we're actually kind of stuck. I mean, we have no choice with what we have to do because we don't have the picks. We traded too much for DeJounte a few years ago. So they're in like a really tough spot. And yeah, I'm sorry, Hawks fans.